You are listening to the Outlaw Podcast with me, your host, Andrea Hall. I am a certified equine gestalt coach, speaker, 3-time author, and lawyer. I help women lawyers who are miserable in their career, struggling with mental and emotional health issues, wanting to have fun in their lives, and struggling to be selfish. After fulfilling my dream of being a criminal defense attorney and opening my own law practice right out of law school, I thought I had it all. While at the height of my career, my 18-month-old puppy died, and I thought, what am I killing myself for? Sometime later, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and my world turned upside down. It was in that moment I realized something had to change. This podcast is about sharing my journey with you about what is possible in your life outside the legal profession, stopping the adulting and being able to play as a child, inspiring you to dream again. Let the journey begin.
I'm thirsty for more. Welcome back to another episode of Outlaw. I'm your host, Andrea Hall. The more I have, the more I'm wanting. Today, I even thought about taking a nap for the first time in a long time in the middle of the day, and I decided to meditate and take some time for me. I remember the days when I was so busy that I didn't even have time to think straight. I went from one task to the next, and before I knew it, it was the end of the day and I was crawling into bed, exhausted. There was no emotion behind anything. I just kept going and did it. No matter how big or how small the win was, it was still always a task, and I moved right on to the next thing. It was never a big deal. There was no emotion behind anything. I just kept going and doing it. And this is really just a deep-seated thought process or pattern, however you want to look at it. And I also think it stems from my lack of patience. No matter what I said I was going to do, I just did it. And here are some examples that should have been surrounded with joy and fun. And what I told myself is that there was joy in some of it, yet I was emotionless through basically both of these processes because it was a task and it was a box to check off for me. And the first one I want to talk about is getting my puppy Bella. I remember wanting to have a puppy for the first time as an adult in my life, and I started the process. I started looking online and figuring out where I was going to find a breeder and was it going to be local or not, and looking at pictures. And I finally found the dog. Yet I remember through that process being told that I didn't need to rush the situation, that I could take my time. And instead, during that process, when it wasn't happening fast enough, I could find myself getting frustrated because I wasn't finding the right puppy. And then I found Bella, and she was the right dog. And unfortunately, I lost her way too soon. She died at 18 months. And yet, for me, it was still just a box to check off. A box that I said, okay, I did it and I got it, and now it's time to move on. There wasn't a whole lot of joy and passion in the process of finding her. And yes, I was ultimately excited when I got her, yet there wasn't that juiciness through the process of finding her. The next example is huge. And that is when I got engaged and started planning my marriage and the wedding of my dreams. And this was a day I had dreamed of my whole life. I had more Pinterest boards than probably most people do. And I had waited for this for a long time and for this day to arrive. And it should have been something that was very special, and there should have been a lot of joy behind that. And I was just talking to my girlfriend this weekend when I was sharing with her this journey that I've been on for the last several weeks and what I was going through and some things that were being brought to the forefront of my attention. And I said, I remember going through this process. And I shared how I did the same thing as I did when I got Bella and as I do through most things. And it's this process of checking off a box and not taking in every moment and going through it emotionless. Can you relate to this being busy and having no emotional attachment to any of your hopes and dreams? They ultimately just become a task and the next thing on your list that you're working on. Does that sound familiar? Can you resonate with any of that? Well, during this process of stepping away, I have come to realize how peaceful it is to just be. I swear my taxes have been calling my name since the middle of December. And to be honest, this time last year, all my bank statements would have been in, all the reports would have been printed, I would have had all my ducks in a row. All the forms would have been filled out to meet with the accountant, and we would have pretty much been ready. Even though I file an extension every April, I pretty much would have been ready for my taxes to be filed. And this year, as they're screaming my name and, I can see the pile over here on my desk calling my attention, I've said, no, I'm not going to do that this time. And for me, this year is so much different. And why is that? And the reason why is because I have said, I don't file my taxes in April like most people do anyway. So why am I going to kill myself to get it done? And what is more important right now for me is discovering who I am again and finding that place of balance and peace and just being. It's almost crazy to think that even just 2 months ago, if somebody had said to me that I would actually be relaxing and thinking about taking a nap in the middle of the day, I would have said, they're crazy and I have so much to do and get done, and there isn't time to take a nap. How many of you can relate to this rat race of life? When do you stop and actually enjoy something? Like petting your dog, taking a bubble bath, enjoying a cup of hot tea out on the porch. And goodness gracious, there are probably so many other things I can think of. Just even taking a deep breath and pausing for a moment, 5 minutes, whatever that is. It is that guilty pleasure that we all want, and most don't take advantage of it. Yet we want it so deep in our core, yet we stop ourselves from that desire. And for me, if I notice that I have a bad habit, and like taking a nap, if I wanted to do that, this bad habit of beating myself up would show up. So today, when I wanted to take the nap, instead of beating myself up, I said, you know what? I'm going to choose to put the hammer down and honor what my mind and body need at this moment in time. And I chose to just take 20 minutes out of my day and do a quiet meditation. And I did it both for my mind and my body. And ultimately, I found myself super restored after that. I could have probably went and laid down in bed and really taken a nap. Yet that 20 minutes was all I just really needed. And I wasn't having an uber busy day. It wasn't super stressful. Yet my body just wanted to check out. And so I honored that. And I can tell you that's probably been the first time in a very long time that I allowed myself to not beat myself up and honor what was being asked of me at that moment in time. And this place of peace and joy is something I feel when I'm with the horses. And for me, it's very easy for me to drop in to that space and get grounded and centered and relaxed when I'm out with the horses. Yet, in the past, I've found that when I left the arena or left the barn, I would immediately get sucked back into life. And it was like where I was didn't even exist 5 minutes ago. And what I've discovered is that this muscle that I have been working on for the last several weeks is getting much stronger. And I'm slowly getting my head on board with the rest of my body. Can you relate to any of this that I've talked about in this episode? And do you want to have support in finding that inner peace and the outer peace in your life? I and the horses can support you with that. And if you think that is something that sounds right for you, I encourage you to follow your heart and schedule a free moment of truth session with me today. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Outlaw.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Outlaw. There is life after litigation. If anything I said in this episode resonates with you, call for a free exploratory session to see how I can help you. My horses will give you instantaneous feedback, unlike traditional talk therapy. You will shift your awareness into real time with the help of a horse. The horses are like lie detectors, flushing out limiting beliefs with a swish of their tail, a shift of their 1,200-pound body, or a simple unwillingness to move. Horses have a way of seeing into the window of our souls. Horses have been connected to humanity since the dawn of time. Their hearts can heal and mend our broken hearts. Simply standing in their presence can change our lives forever, putting the puzzle pieces back together and returning us to wholeness. Horses are restoring the parts of us that have been missing. You can call us at 970-682-4405 to set up your appointment today. Want to be inspired daily? See about our latest events or purchase a copy of my books? Go to our website at www.witherswhisper.com. That's www.witherswhisper.com. Or you can follow us on any social media venue at Withers Whisper. Until the next episode, listen to the whispers.